Ignore this next warning for 5 minutes and you could find yourself gasping for air, clutching your chest, and wondering how everything spiraled so quickly. Picture your morning routine. You grab something to eat, maybe it's a bowl of supposedly healthy cereal, or you skip breakfast altogether and head out the door. Little do you realize that these routine decisions can create a perfect storm in your bloodstream, inflaming your arteries and edging you toward a cardiac meltdown or even a severe cerebrovascular event. The scariest part, you won't see it coming until it's too late, and the very first indicator might be the terrifying throb of your heart struggling to cope. Now imagine it's 8:59 a.m., just before your coffee cools. You feel fine, no pains, no dizziness, nothing alarming. Yet concealed within your circulatory system is a dangerous buildup of plaque, erratic hormone levels, and an escalating threat to your cardiac well-being. The smallest miscalculation, something as harmless seeming as a sugary breakfast or leftover fried food, could be fueling a hidden catastrophe. By the time the warning signs materialize, shortness of breath, bouts of dizziness, palpitations, your heart may already be facing a crisis. In this urgent broadcast, you'll discover the everyday breakfast traps that have been quietly undermining the wellness of millions. Each so-called innocent choice, reused cooking oil, sugary cereals, or overstuffed plates of high-fat meat, adds another brick in the wall of a future heart emergency. Forget about extremes like chain smoking or downing stacks of bacon every single day. We're talking about habitual morning habits that masquerade as harmless. By the time you finish watching, you'll understand how these choices can sabotage your body in ways you never suspected. Stay with me, because this knowledge could genuinely save your life. Transition, a brief true or composite clinical story. Let me share the story of a person named Richard, a composite of many individuals I've encountered in my medical and journalistic work. He lived an uneventful life, priding himself on average health, a bit overweight, perhaps, but no glaring red flags. His morning habits were similarly ordinary, sometimes a muffin, occasionally skipping the meal if he had an early meeting, and from time to time, reheating leftover fried chicken from the previous night. This pattern persisted for years without much drama, until the day it nearly cost him everything. Richard arrived at the emergency room with relentless chest heaviness and exhaustion that felt as if his body was giving out. Medical evaluations revealed high blood pressure, troublesome cholesterol levels, and disturbing scans showing arterial plaque in dangerous locations. The cardiologist traced much of it back to a routine that appeared harmless at face value. Routine skipping of breakfast on busy days disrupted his hormone balance and forced his heart to strain. When he did eat, he gravitated toward processed, high-salt items that nudged his blood pressure even higher, an insidious upward creep he barely noticed until a crisis loomed. If this scenario seems irrelevant to you, if you assume you're immune because you're relatively young, or because you only indulge in these questionable breakfasts once in a while, realize that thousands of people think the same. Many believe that minimal chest discomfort or mild fatigue just happens, not recognizing it as the tip of a dangerous iceberg. Richard's story serves as a bold reminder that ignoring small, repetitive behaviors can create the perfect environment for an eventual cardiovascular breakdown. He stabilized with medication and a drastic overhaul of his morning meals, but the doctor's stern caution echoed, make those changes now or face more dire consequences later. Science explanation in lay terms. Your heart is built for endurance and flexible responses. It maintains circulation, adjusts blood pressure, and adapts to different energy needs. But day after day, the morning meal either nurtures or assaults your cardiovascular system. Foods with excessively high sodium content trigger fluid retention, forcing the heart to work harder. Sugary cereals and refined carbs inflict sudden glucose surges, followed by insulin chaos, which inflames arteries and leads to long-term plaque buildup. When you skip the first meal entirely, your system's cortisol levels can surge. Cortisol is known as a stress hormone for a reason. It drives blood pressure up, provokes sugar imbalances, and sets off inflammatory cascades. Combine that with processed fats, like those found in reheated fried foods or margarine, and you've got a recipe for stiffened arteries and rising LDL cholesterol. Over time, this repeated stress can damage the lining of your blood vessels, giving a foothold for atherosclerosis, plaque formation. Some might assume that these impacts only matter for people already diagnosed with coronary artery disease or advanced hypertension. The unsettling truth, backed by decades of research, is that poor morning habits can quietly undermine even those who appear healthy. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, 2018. Harvard Health Publishing warns that diets overloaded with refined carbs and trans fats accelerate arterial plaque formation. While you may feel perfectly fine in the short term, beneath the surface, your heart could be inching toward a lethal meltdown. The core breakfast mistakes overview. Now that you grasp the high-level threat, let's dissect the morning missteps. Each one, taken alone, might seem inconsequential, but every instance is a nudge closer to a circulatory crisis, especially as we age. Later, we'll walk through practical ways to fix these habits. For now, brace yourself for some unnerving truths that might change the way you look at your kitchen forever. Mistake 10. Reheated fried or fast food in the morning. It's a scene many know. You open the fridge, spy a leftover box of fried chicken or onion rings, and think, perfect for a quick breakfast. However, these items are typically steeped in oils that have undergone high-temperature cooking, sometimes reused repeatedly in restaurants or your own kitchen. Overheating oils can produce harmful compounds that inflame blood vessels and elevate LDL cholesterol. The World Health Organization 2015. WHO Technical Report Series highlights trans fats as a major driver of heart complications. And it's in these reheated foods where they often hide. Seniors in particular may pay the price. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at detoxifying harmful byproducts and regulating blood pressure. Tucking into leftover fried food in the morning, day after day, isn't just a fleeting indulgence, it's a time bomb that can push your blood pressure upward. Fatigue, mild chest pressure, and nagging shortness of breath can creep in so gradually that you might not notice them until a crisis point. The fix: replace that microwaved fried chicken with something less punishing. Eggs, fresh vegetables, maybe a slice of whole grain toast. Cooking with heart-friendly oils like olive or avocado also cuts down on inflammation. As with all dietary changes, be sure to consult your physician if you're managing chronic conditions or are on specific treatments. A small shift at daybreak can make the difference between building a fortress of health or risking a catastrophic heart event. Mistake number 9, replacing whole fruit with fruit juice. You see the branding on the juice carton, 100% real fruit, all natural, or no added sugar. It's easy to assume it's healthy because it sounds miles better than soda. Yet the vital nutrient missing is dietary fiber, which is naturally present in whole fruit. Fiber moderates how quickly sugar enters the bloodstream, but in fruit juice, that protective mechanism vanishes. What you get is a concentrated dose of fructose that slams your metabolic system. Michael Greger, 2020. Nutrition Facts & video series cautions that liquid sugars, including fruit-based ones, are metabolized faster than those in solid foods. That rapid absorption can trigger fat storage, intensify inflammation, and destabilize blood pressure. Older adults, who generally exhibit slower metabolic adaptation, can find their hearts working overtime as the body fights each new sugar spike. The repeated roller coaster of glucose and insulin levels sets the groundwork for plaque accumulation in the arteries. So what should you do if you want a morning vitamin boost? Go for a piece of actual fruit, whether it's an apple, a slice of melon, or a bowl of berries. If you crave juice, consider diluting it or turning to a smoothie that retains the pulp and fiber. Again, if you're dealing with insulin resistance or cardiovascular concerns, confirm with your physician that these substitutions fit within your broader care plan. Each small pivot helps defend your heart against an ever-present onslaught of inflammatory triggers. Mistake number 8. Overindulging first thing in the morning. We've all experienced the pleasure of feasting on a mountain of pancakes with syrup, a side of bacon, and maybe an extra biscuit for good measure. It feels comforting until you consider the metabolic havoc. Consuming a large load of high-fat and high-sugar items at once forces your heart to escalate blood flow to your digestive system, while your pancreas scrambles to produce enough insulin. Over time, repetitive spikes in blood glucose and blood pressure chip away at the integrity of your arteries, leaving you vulnerable to blockages and weakening heart function. Sandra, 68, always started her day with a sizable plate of butter-smothered pancakes and a couple of sausage links. By midday, she felt drained. Her blood pressure soared, and her ankles sometimes swelled, symptoms she dismissed as part of aging. But once her doctor pointed out the correlation between these meal patterns and her labored heart, she swapped the oversized platter for smaller servings with balanced nutrients. Within weeks, her energy improved and her blood pressure readings stabilized. Modest proportions protect your cardiovascular system from an overwhelming burden first thing in the day. Focus on a blend of high-quality protein like eggs or Greek yogurt, complex carbs, steel-cut oats, whole grain toast, and healthy fats avocados, nuts. If you suspect an underlying condition, consult your physician about how to tailor portion sizes to your specific needs. Consistent moderation in the morning can help safeguard you from the silent progression of artery damage. Mistake number 7, sticking to refined carbs, white bread, pastries, white toast, sugary donuts, and pastries make for a convenient breakfast, yet they're stripped of the fiber and micronutrients that exist in whole grains. The result, your bloodstream is flooded with a swift blast of glucose, launching your insulin response into hyperdrive. Repeated exposure to these insulin surges can elevate harmful cholesterol, spike your blood pressure, and kick off internal inflammation. The heart takes the brunt as overexerted arteries begin to stiffen and plaque accumulates. The Harvard County School of Public Health, Harvard Chan School of Public Health, 2016, Harvard Health Letter has emphasized how whole grains, packed with their natural fiber and nutrients, protect against heart trouble by supporting optimal insulin regulation. But refined grains lack these buffers, offering a direct pipeline for sugar to enter your system. This effect is even more pronounced in those over 60, whose bodies often have a diminished capacity to cope with extreme blood sugar swings. Over time, this repeated sugar assault can set the stage for advanced atherosclerosis and severe cardiac events. To break this cycle, reach for whole wheat toast or oats instead of white bread or pastries. If you miss the sweetness, consider adding fresh fruit or a touch of honey. Aim to find sustainable, balanced alternatives that won't jerk your insulin levels around like a roller coaster. And if you already have a diabetes diagnosis, talk to your healthcare provider to ensure these shifts align with your prescribed regimen. Each simpler, healthier carbohydrate choice is a gift to your heart's long-term resilience. Mistake number 6, using margarine and processed butter substitutes. Margarine was once marketed as the better alternative to butter. However, many margarine products contain partially hydrogenated oils, a prime source of trans fats. These substances are notorious for raising bad cholesterol, LDL, and lowering good cholesterol, HDL, accelerating plaque buildup in the arteries. Consuming such spreads daily compounds the strain on your cardiovascular system, especially as the body's natural capacity to cope with toxins diminishes with age. Peter, 70, had slathered margarine on his toast for decades. When a minor heart event forced him into the hospital, he learned about the damaging properties of trans fats hidden in the tiny print on many ingredient labels. Even a product claiming 0 grams trans fat per serving can contain up to half a gram if partially hydrogenated oils are listed. Those small amounts consumed frequently accumulate over time and heighten the risk of arterial blockage. What's the solution? Switch to healthier fat sources: avocado, olive oil, or moderate amounts of real, grass-fed butter. This approach provides monounsaturated fats and antioxidants that can help maintain vessel elasticity. Before making a substantial change, get advice from your physician, especially if you were dealing with pre-existing heart conditions or a lipid disorder. By bypassing processed spreads, you offer your heart the kind of natural support it needs to keep beating strong. Mistake number 5, drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Millions of people cannot imagine beginning their day without a jolt of caffeine, but when you take that stimulant by itself, your cortisol can surge. This hormonal spike elevates blood pressure, nudges blood sugar levels upward, and sets the tone for a stressful morning, particularly harmful in older adults who have less physiological buffering capacity. Over the long run, frequent cortisol spikes can degrade the heart muscle and compromise circulatory efficiency. Sarah, 3, noticed her heart racing uncomfortably after 2 or 3 cups of black coffee on an empty stomach. She ignored it until those flutters morphed into alarming palpitations that interrupted her daily activities. A more measured approach, 1 cup of coffee paired with whole grain toast or an egg, stabilized her system and minimized those stressful adrenaline bursts. Medical literature, including a 2019 analysis in the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology, confirms that coupling caffeine with a balanced meal prevents radical swings in blood pressure and heart rate. If you're unwilling to relinquish your cherished morning cup, the simplest remedy is pairing it with real food. Light protein or healthy fats. Blunt caffeine's shock on your body. Keep an eye on any persistent issues like jitteriness or palpitations and schedule a consultation with your healthcare provider if they persist. The tweak is minor, but the payoff for your cardiac function can be enormous. A brief mention of a useful tool, free senior health app. Quick interjection for those who might suspect they're at risk, a free senior health app can help track daily vitals, blood pressure readings, and any unusual symptoms. Monitoring these markers can reveal dangerous trends before they escalate into emergencies. By diligently recording your breakfast habits and any subsequent fluctuations in energy or palpitations, you build valuable data you can share with your physician. Tools like these don't replace expert care, but they elevate your awareness and can catch early warning signals that might otherwise be overlooked. Check the link in the description if you want to explore that option. Mistake number 4, consuming high-sodium instant breakfast. Items, packets of instant oatmeal, pre-packaged breakfast bowls, or microwavable noodles may seem like the height of convenience. Yet these are often saturated with salt that surges far beyond what your body should handle first thing in the day. Sodium overload compels your body to retain fluids, effectively increasing the volume of blood that your heart must pump. With repeated exposure, your arteries can stiffen, your heart enlarges from the extra effort, and you inch closer to a catastrophic circulatory event. And 67, depended on the flavored instant oatmeal to start each day. She assumed it was healthier than sugary cereals. Only after her ankles started swelling and her blood pressure soared did she compare the labels and find an alarming sodium content. By shifting to plain oatmeal and topping it with fruits and nuts for flavor, she saw her blood pressure readings fall noticeably. The World Health Organization, 2012, Guideline Sodium Intake for Adults and Children underscores the importance of limiting salt to reduce hypertension risk. If you find yourself reaching for instant options, read the nutrition facts before throwing them in your cart. Look for under 400 milligrams of sodium per serving, and remember that some labels cleverly list smaller serving sizes to mask the real salt content. Consider augmenting flavor with herbs or fresh ingredients rather than relying on artificial seasonings. If you sense water retention, headaches, or unusual fatigue, consult your physician, as these may be signals of sodium-induced cardiovascular strain. Mistake number 3, eating processed meats, bacon, sausage on a daily basis. Processed meats, think bacon, sausage, or ham, are beloved components of many morning plates. Unfortunately, they come loaded with nitrates, abundant salt, and saturated fats that corrode your cardiovascular health. Research consistently classifies these items as a top dietary contributor to plaques that clog arteries, raise blood pressure, and stress the heart muscle. The more frequently they appear at breakfast, the greater the long-term damage to circulatory stability. Jorge, 65, spent his working years as a bus driver, and his routine included a fast food bacon sandwich most mornings. By his early 60s, doctors detected severe artery hardening that led to labored breathing even during minor exertion. Reducing processed meats and substituting them with low-salt options or plant-based proteins alleviated his symptoms and improved his blood pressure in just a few months. If you're not ready to cut these items out entirely, even slashing your intake to once a week could lighten the load on your arteries. Seek out nitrate-free cuts or lean, unprocessed meats if you crave that salty flavor. Accompany them with fresh vegetables or whole grains to slow digestion and temper sodium spikes. Always remember to align changes with your physician's guidance, particularly if you're juggling multiple health concerns. In the grand scheme, a less processed approach pays dividends in lower heart disease risk, stable energy, and a reduced chance of abrupt cardiac episodes. Mistake number 2, indulging in sugary cereals. Each morning, colorful cereal boxes might claim they're fortified or made with whole grains, but a closer look can reveal sugar levels that rival candy bars. These sugary cereals inflict a punishing glucose spike on your bloodstream. Over time, those erratic insulin responses are linked to elevated triglycerides, artery inflammation, and the gradual formation of plaques that narrow your circulatory passages. That's why older adults, whose bodies struggle more with glucose regulation, may experience midday crashes or unexplained fatigue. A 2020 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition connected regular sweetened cereal consumption with higher rates of metabolic syndrome among older populations. Even if you only fill your bowl once a day, those daily jolts accumulate. You may initially ignore mild breathlessness or occasional heart palpitations, never suspecting your breakfast is the culprit. Yet that unassuming bowl of bright, sugary flakes can steadily erode the heart's ability to pump efficiently. Fortunately, there are better choices on the supermarket shelves. Look for cereals labeled no added sugar or opt for plain oatmeal, jazzed up with fresh berries or cinnamon. Each shift away from refined sugar is a step towards stable energy, better blood pressure control, and a more dependable heartbeat. Check in with your physician or a dietitian about carbohydrate counts and portion sizes, especially if you're managing prediabetes or full-blown diabetes. Over time, these little breakfast adjustments can avert a crisis you never saw coming. Mistake number 1, skipping the morning meal altogether. Some people treat breakfast as optional, viewing it as a quick way to reduce daily calories or shave time off a busy schedule. But multiple clinical findings suggest skipping breakfast sets off your body's stress responses, elevating cortisol, destabilizing blood sugar, and priming your arteries for damage. Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Michael Greger, 2021 public health presentation warns that routinely bypassing the first meal can cause you to overcompensate later, binging on less nutritious foods, and compounding heart strain over the long term. Betty, 72, told herself she was too occupied with household tasks to pause for breakfast. She initially felt fine, but creeping episodes of insomnia and random heart flutters prompted her to investigate. At her physician's recommendation, she started with modest meals in the morning, perhaps a slice of whole grain toast with nut butter or an egg. Remarkably, her palpitations waned and her stress levels evened out. The reasoning behind this effect is straightforward. When you deny your body nutrients at a time it needs them most, your hormonal balance skews towards stress. In turn, that stress heightens inflammation and can degrade cardiac tissues over time. Even a small, balanced morning meal can help maintain steadier blood pressure, protect your insulin balance, and fortify your heart. Always double-check with your doctor if you have complex health issues, but generally, skipping breakfast can do far more harm than good. Missing spark, amplifying the fear factor with hard truths. Many individuals dismiss these cautions, believing the occasional donut or leftover burger won't kill them. The chilling reality, however, is that these daily missteps accumulate stealthily, layering microscopic injuries across your arteries. Each small insult to your circulatory network sets the stage for a bigger meltdown down the road so big, in fact, that the first sign of trouble could be a night spent in the cardiac ICU. You won't always sense a ticking clock. No loud alarm announces the immediate risk of an artery about to block. Consider Linda, 59, a hairdresser who rarely felt ill. She occasionally had leftover fast food pizza for breakfast and didn't see any obvious consequences. Then one morning, Linda fainted. Hospital tests uncovered near-critical blockages that required immediate intervention to prevent a catastrophic heart event. Without prior symptoms like severe chest pain, she assumed her heart was robust. She learned the hard way that no symptoms doesn't mean no danger. The moral here is harrowing yet clear. If you subject your heart to repeated stress, you're playing a game of Russian roulette with your health. You might dodge a bullet for years, only to have that hidden plaque break loose or that blood pressure reading spike at the wrong time. When you consider the irreversible damage a single event can leave behind, loss of mobility, persistent shortness of breath, diminished quality of life suddenly, reevaluating your morning routine doesn't seem so trivial anymore. Action plan, checklist, meal targets, follow-up schedule. You know the culprits. Now let's translate all of this frightening detail into a practical roadmap you can use to shield your cardiovascular system. Here's a structured checklist adjusted according to your personal needs, but make it your baseline for safer mornings. Always confirm major alterations with your physician, especially if you're on prescribed regimens like blood pressure medication or insulin. Favor whole, unprocessed foods. Aim for fresh produce, whole grains, and lean proteins. Reduce or eliminate items with hidden trans fats, added sugars, or excessive sodium. Be wary of salt and sugar. Check every label if you can. Processed cereals, boxed soups, or even so-called healthy breakfast bars might sneak in high sodium or sweeteners. Ideal sodium intake for many individuals is below 1,500 milliliters per day. Monitor closely if you have hypertension. Control portions. Large meals overload the heart with extra work. A smaller, balanced breakfast can regulate both energy and blood pressure. Pair coffee with some food. A simple slice of whole grain toast, a handful of nuts, or yogurt can help mitigate caffeine-induced cortisol spikes. Choose quality fats. Steer clear of margarine or any spread listing partially hydrogenated oils. Opt for moderate real butter, olive oil, or avocado for heart-friendly fats. Incorporate protein. Eggs, yogurt, beans, or lean meats can help stabilize blood sugar, reducing insulin highs and lows. Always consult your physician if you're handling specific conditions like kidney disease, which may require tailoring protein intake. Plan ahead. Prepare overnight oats, pre-sliced fruit, or boiled eggs in advance for busy mornings. This prevents impulsive grabs of leftover fried items or sugary cereals. Revisit these steps each week and note any positive changes, such as less mid-morning fatigue or a modest drop in blood pressure readings. These transformations might seem small initially, but over time they accumulate into substantial protection against a potential heart crisis. Whether you're 25 or 75, the same principle applies: consistent vigilance. Each morning sets the tone for the rest of your day and for many tomorrows to come. Call to comment. Have you ever noticed this sign? Comment, I feel it. If you relate, I'm safe if not. And add a question for the doctor. Feel free to share any experiences. Did you ever suspect your innocent breakfast was a stealthy culprit for palpitations or high blood pressure? Start the conversation, and we'll explore answers that could benefit many in the same situation. 2 or 3 case studies anonymized. We've seen glimpses of Richard and Linda, but let's underscore a few more anonymized stories that reveal how common these issues really are. Each case mirrors struggles many face, whether they live in bustling cities or quiet suburbs. Marcia, 70, retired librarian. Routine: she regularly drank seemingly healthy fruit juices each morning. Medical fallout: a routine checkup revealed alarming triglycerides and rising blood pressure. Outcome: swapping juice for whole fruits drastically reduced her sugar intake and improved her lab results within months. Anthony, 63, construction supervisor. Pattern: he habitually skipped breakfast, opting for multiple cups of black coffee to keep going. Consequence: he began experiencing palpitations and a sporadic arrhythmia that interfered with his physically demanding job. Reversal: adding a quick, balanced breakfast like a small bowl of oats and an egg reduced his heart flutters. Post-checkup tests confirmed a lessening of cardiac stress. Doris, 69, part-time teacher. Issue: processed meats, bacon or ham featured in almost every morning meal. Result: dizziness, borderline high cholesterol, and creeping shortness of breath. Solution: transitioning to plant-based protein options. Most days with occasional nitrate-free meats helped restore her energy and lower LDL cholesterol. A 7-day heart-safe morning checklist. Sometimes you need a structured trial to see real results. Below is a 7-day plan designed to push your breakfast habits in a heart-friendly direction. Share it with family or friends who could benefit from a quick intervention. Consistency is key, and any unusual symptoms should be discussed with your physician, especially if you're on medication. Day 1. Swap sugary cereals for plain oats. Steel-cut oats or an unsweetened muesli. Top with fresh fruit and note if your energy remains steadier through the morning. Day 2. Keep your coffee, but add a source of protein like a hard-boiled egg or a side of yogurt. Observe whether you're less jittery and if your heart rate feels more consistent. Day 3. Eliminate processed meats, no bacon or sausage today. Try a vegetable omelet or a simple combination of avocado on whole grain toast. Day 4. If you usually drink fruit juice, skip it in favor of whole fruits. Keep track of any changes in appetite or energy dips later in the day. Day 5. Avoid margarine or processed spreads entirely. Use real butter sparingly, or consider hummus or mashed avocado on toast. Day 6. Reduce your overall portion size if you tend to overeat in the morning. Focus on balanced macros, complex carbs, protein, healthy fats. Day 7. Make it a low-sodium morning. Choose plain oats over flavored packets and use herbs for taste instead of salt. Record any noticeable differences in swelling or blood pressure readings. By day 8, look over your personal data, whether it's blood pressure logs, how often you felt fatigued, or if you experience palpitations. If you see even marginal improvements, it indicates your body is responding to less stressful morning fuel. This quick, one-week reset can serve as a springboard for long-term heart-conscious eating. As always, remain connected with your physician for tailored guidance, particularly if you manage conditions such as diabetes or kidney issues. Little by little, you're building a fortification around your heart. 24-hour rapid challenge for immediate impact. Not everyone can commit to a full week right away. If you want to test the waters or see a quick difference, try the 24-hour rapid challenge. For an entire day, remove all trans fats, skip sugary cereals, avoid processed meats, and forego fruit juice. Focus on water or unsweetened tea, plus whole grains, lean proteins, and whole fruits. Jot down how you feel: energy, mood, any physical discomfort throughout this short test period. You might be surprised by changes you notice in just one day: less bloating, fewer sugar cravings, or fewer mid-morning palpitations. Some individuals report waking up the following morning without the heavy, sluggish sensation they're used to. But always keep in mind, consult your physician if you have complex health conditions or notice anything worrisome. This challenge merely illustrates the immediate relief your body can experience when it's freed from harmful breakfast habits. Think of it as a sneak peek into a healthier, more sustainable routine. Credibility and trust expert quotes. Below are 3 highly respected voices that reinforce the pivotal themes we've discussed. A World Health Organization (WHO) 2015 WHO Technical Report Series reinforces the grave implications of trans fats on heart health, urging global reduction. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Harvard T. Chan School of Public Health, 2018. Harvard Health Publishing highlights the destructive role of refined carbohydrates and artificial fats in building arterial plaques. Dr. Michael Greger, 2020, nutritionforseniors video series points out the rapid absorption of liquid sugars and the subsequent rise in systemic inflammation that burdens cardiovascular function. All of these expert sources converge on a single truth: daily food choices shape the trajectory of your arterial health. Their data underscore the real and looming risks linked to high sugar, high salt, and highly processed morning meals. Each has advocated for practical, incremental steps that people of any age can adopt to shield themselves from the hidden dangers lurking in the kitchen. But remember, their insights are not a green light to ignore your prescribed medication or professional medical advice. Think of these guidelines as powerful complements to your ongoing care. Repeated reminder: consult your physician. Let's be crystal clear. No part of this discussion overrides the advice of your healthcare provider. If your doctor recommends a specific diet, perhaps due to diabetes, renal issues, or a prior cardiac event, stick with it. Always check in with them about changes you plan to make, like switching to a new spread or drastically modifying your coffee habit. Each body is different, and personalized guidance is invaluable for ensuring you optimize, rather than harm, your overall health. Use these tips as a supplement to qualified medical counsel, not a substitute. Conclusion, recap, and final invitation. We've examined the top breakfast mistakes and why they are so threatening. No one wants to visualize themselves struggling for breath in an ER or hooking up to a hospital monitor for the rest of their lives. Yet these morning pitfalls, ranging from processed meats to excessive sugar, could push you in that direction if they're left uncorrected. The positive news is that simple, deliberate changes carry immense power to reverse or at least mitigate the harm. Even a minor tweak can yield a profound shield for your heart. Before you shrug off these warnings, recall how Linda and Richard went years without realizing their breakfasts were priming them for disaster. Could the same be happening to you right now? Take action. Don't wait for chest pains, dizziness, or dramatic fainting spells. Consult your physician, reevaluate your morning plate, and adopt a new standard of awareness. 3 rapid-fire bullet points. Start small, replace refined breads and sugary cereals with whole grains and real fruit. Track salt. Too much sodium can quietly escalate blood pressure and strain the heart. Don't skip. A balanced morning meal can stabilize cortisol and support healthier circulation. If you found value in this discussion, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and pass it on to anyone who needs a wake-up call on these hidden breakfast hazards. By sharing, you might protect someone you care about from a future cardiac emergency. Remember to check the free Senior Health app for better daily tracking of symptoms and vitals. Now, I want to hear from you. Which single change to your morning routine do you believe has the biggest payoff for long-term heart strength? Let's keep the conversation going. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and protect that heart. It's the only one you have.